Hello chat, ignore the giant castle over there. Today I'm going to be going over the new stuff in 1.21.5 Spring to Life. This is coming in like 2 days or something, this update. A lot of people are hating on this update. It's just a small drop that adds a few pretty cool stuff in my opinion. I don't think there should be any hate around it. Let's start with some of the new grass and flowers or whatever in this update. This is kind of like a nature update where it just adds a few like different foliage stuff, like the bush, the firefly bush. A lot of people have been asking for fireflies. They finally added them. In 1.19 they said they would add it and then they didn't add it, so it's here now. There's also these dry grass variants that spawn in deserts. A lot of people have been wanting a desert update recently. They also added this cactus flower that grows on cactuses. Cacti, I guess I should say. They also added these leaf litter and wildflowers which can generate on the ground in different biomes. Also, the leaf blocks have a new animation where the leaves will fall from the block, which is nice for ambience, just kind of creating like motion in the environment. Also, they made the lodestone cheaper. Before you would need a netherite ingot to craft this, which is obviously pretty expensive, but now you only need an iron ingot. They also changed the texture of spawn eggs. Here we have a creeper spawn egg. It's on peaceful right now, so before you couldn't really tell these apart. So now if you're trying to spawn in a mob, it'll be a lot easier to tell these apart, and they just kind of look pretty cool. Over here you can see that there's some new mob variants, like the cold chicken, cold cow, cold pig, worm cow, and worm chicken. As you can see, the worm and the cold chicken lay different eggs depending on the variant. You know, a lot of people have been asking for mob variants, so you know, they added some. Pretty nice. The wolves will have different sound variants now, so if you spawn another wolf, it'll sound different. Just a cool little thing, makes there more different wolf variants. You know, they added the visual variants before, and now there's sound variants, which is nice. It doesn't correlate to the visual variants. Over here you could see that they added fallen trees, which is something that was on Bedrock, but they finally added it to Java, which is nice. Also, they added ambient sounds for stuff like dead bushes and sand and stuff, so that while you're walking around in the desert, there's some nice ambient sounds. Also, they added these test blocks that I don't really know what they do. Test instance. What does this do? You right click on it, it does this. I don't really know what these are, but they're here, so yay. Also, they expanded the Pale Garden, which a lot of people complained was a little too small. It's a nice biome that they added last update, which you can get stuff like resin from. You can put it on your armor, craft some cool building blocks. There's the Creaking, which they made a few changes to the Creaking. Like, you can now name tag them, I'm pretty sure, and then they won't despawn. So that's nice. Also, there's a new texture for the Creaking heart, where it's kind of inactive but still glowing, which is, I think, when it's daytime and you have a creaking still around, like if it's name tagged. So I don't know, some cool creaking changes and changes with the Pale Garden. Over here there's a beacon. They actually made the beam for it way taller, and I think it renders from a lot further distance, which is really nice. Kind of acts as a better actual beacon, so you can kind of see it from further away, which is nice. Also, you can see there's a pearl stasis here, which keeps this loaded. This is a crop here. This is basically showing that while this is loaded with a pearl or anything else, the crops will still grow, even if there's no player around, which is nice. Also, pretty sure in this update they added new sounds for the iron blocks being placed and broken. which is different from it just being the same as breaking like stone and stuff, or whatever it was before. Over here you can see there's a TNT that is on fire and not lighting. That's because they added the TNT explodes game rule from Bedrock Edition, which is a nice parody update. I've always kind of wondered why they didn't have this on Java. It was really useful when I was on Bedrock to make TNT not explode. Here's a camel. I just hit him out of the fence. Yeah, this guy can now spawn in the desert instead of just villages. So that's nice. You can find camels around the place more often. Over here we have a Cartographer. They made some changes to this guy's trades. Taiga village map. Yep. As you can see, there's now maps to the other villages. So that makes it a lot easier to kind of go from village to village to find some stuff you need. And they've been working on the villager trade rebalance stuff, where they plan on making different enchanted books spawn in different structures, biomes, villages, you know. So this will make it easier to find certain villages if you want to get villagers to sell you certain books, though they haven't added the enchanted book changes to the main game yet. Also, bundles will now spawn in village chests, which makes it a little bit easier to find these things and teach players about it, I guess. If you don't know how to craft it, you can find it and figure out, oh, you can put stuff in here. Also, there's a wandering trader here, though you can't see him because he's invisible. He will now try and buy stuff from you, which he wouldn't do before. He would only sell you stuff. He does now sell you some more stuff. I think he'll always sell you some logs, which is nice. And he'll now buy stuff. So if you're carrying around some of this stuff, then you can get some emeralds and buy some of his stuff. Because, you know, he'll spawn around. He'll be kind of useless if you don't have any emeralds. So you can trade some milk or whatever to get some emeralds. And that is about it for the update. Let's recap. There's a bunch of new foliage and ambient sounds and particles and stuff. They made the lodestone easier to craft, which, pro tip, do not craft a lodestone if you are not on this update, because when you update to this version, it will be a lot easier to craft this. They changed some things with the Pale Garden and Creaking, changed some things up with the beacon, made some cool parody updates actually with Java and Bedrock, which is nice, and made a few villager changes. So that's it with the update. This will release in a few days. Might take a little while for plugins or mods or whatever to come out for this update, but I think it's a pretty cool update. I don't see the hate around it, but yeah, I guess that's it. Also, yes, I am Cassie from FNAF Security Breach Ruin, because my name is Cassie. I just thought it was funny. Bye bye, chat. See you guys next time.